Hi, my name is Robin Wong. I'm a photographer based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I have here with me the Olympus XZ-1, which was launched 11 years ago. I want to share my experience using this camera for street photography in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Let's do this! I'm sure some of you are asking, hey Robin, why did you buy an old camera? This 11 years old dinosaur. It is a compact camera. It is not even an interchangeable lens mirrorless camera. Well, when this Olympus XZ-1 was launched in the year 2012, I was really curious and excited about this camera. For an advanced compact camera, it houses a lot of special features, and this Olympus XZ-1 was one of the highest selling cameras, the most popular cameras for Olympus at that time. Of course, I could not afford to buy this camera at full price during launch, and now, 11 years later, I found one used unit at a very good price. I think it was just about $40 US, and the camera is in pristine condition. It was as if the previous owner did not even use the camera at all. I couldn't resist this, and that curiosity about this camera, what it can do, that never went away. So I was really excited to try this Olympus XZ-1 now in the year 2022. Very recently, I had a work trip to Chiang Mai, Thailand. I was shooting a friend, but I did manage to find some time for myself to go out and do some shutter therapy. I used this Olympus XZ-1, of course. All the images you are seeing in this video were shot in Chiang Mai using this XZ-1, and I hope you like the photographs. During its launch, the Olympus XZ-1 made quite a huge splash in the market. For an advanced compact camera, it houses a lot of special features. The image sensor size was larger than most compact cameras at that time. It was 1/1.63 inch, and the image sensor was CCD, which means I'm expecting the color rendering to be quite special. Also, interesting fact, this Olympus XZ-1 was the first compact camera from Olympus that uses the Zuiko branding for the lens. If you're not aware, Zuiko is the brand Olympus uses for the professional grade DSLR lenses and micro four thirds lenses. To have that brand, that Zuiko branding in this compact camera, it means that the lens formula, the optical design has to be really exceptional. Also, the lens has a versatile zoom range from 28mm wide angle all the way to 112mm medium telephoto range. It's a 4x zoom. You can do a lot with that range. And the aperture, the opening for this lens, is the brightest at the time of this launch. It has f1.8 to f2.5. I think it was the only compact camera with f1.8 at the time before Panasonic, Sony, and other manufacturers caught up with their bright aperture compact cameras. And even at the medium telephoto, the longest end, 112, you still get f2.5, and that's really respectable. Being an advanced compact camera, the camera is very well built. It is made of metal body. It feels really solid in hand. It has full manual control. You can control the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO individually. And of course, it also has built-in image stabilization. So what do I really like about this Olympus XZ-1? The image quality is excellent. In fact, the image quality is better than most smartphone cameras out there today in 2022. The images are super sharp, it's full of fine details, it is full of good contrast, they look three-dimensional, there's that pop, there's depth in the image, it looks so realistic. I really love the rendering from this camera. I think it's the lens. It's the Zuiko lens that gives this lovely rendering of the images. And I really like them. And it is actually a surprise to me looking at the images coming from this 11 years old compact camera that has a small sensor, right? It tells you that sensor size is not everything. I think the lens is more important than the sensor to render a beautiful image. The color rendering from this XZ-1 is remarkable. I think it's because of the CCD sensor. There is the very saturated look in all the reds, the greens and the blues, and yet they still look natural without being overcooked or looking too processed. I would actually tone down the saturation just a little bit for a more natural look. But the colors coming out from the camera, it looks really pleasing, and I really like the skin tones as well. I also really like that this is a medium telephoto lens at the longest end, 112mm. It does have a bright aperture of f2.5, and you can somehow create a shallow depth of field rendering. You can separate the subject from the background. You can create that background blur effect. And I really like this subject isolation because I do a lot of portraits, close-up portraits where I shoot a tight shot, and having that separation, it just makes the portrait look so much more flattering. And I can do that with this camera. Of course, you can't do too much. There is a limitation. If background blur or bokeh is your priority, of course go to larger sensor cameras like Micro Four Thirds or even full frame. You can get much better separation. But I really like that you can even do that with this tiny compact camera. Another point about this compact camera is that it does excellent macro. You can go really close to the subject, and being able to go close, it opens up more opportunities for creative composition. It gives you variety of framing to work with. And some subjects, the tiny subjects, as you go closer, they look more dramatic. It can add more impact to your photography, and I really love that it can go so close. It's almost touching the lens with this XZ-1. Of course, being an advanced compact camera, the camera is well built, it is made of metal, it feels really solid in hand. I have no issue handling this camera. I was walking on the old city streets of Chiang Mai for about 3 hours. I started at 8 in the morning and I finished about 11 something. I was strolling through the streets, the back lane, holding this camera with one hand, with this wrist strapped. No issue. I don't feel any strains on my fingers, my wrist. I don't feel any discomfort anywhere. The handling was really good because the camera is so small and so light, it shouldn't be any problem. This Olympus XZ-1 is not a perfect camera. Being a compact camera, having a small size image sensor, it does come with some limitations. Now, of course, dynamic range is one of them. Under good lighting, when it's bright, shooting at ISO 100, dynamic range should not be a problem. I can still recover a lot of details from the highlight and shadow. Bear in mind, I was shooting RAW all the time, so during post-processing, I can balance my image really well. But it is still limited if you have a really challenging conditions where the bright is really bright and the dark area, they are really dark, and you have severe difference between highlight and shadow. It gets increasingly difficult to make a balanced image. You may not be able to recover that much details from the highlight or shadow, and the image will look somewhat too harsh, and that's perfectly fine. This is a compact camera, the image sensor is small, it is its limitation. If you want more dynamic range, go for bigger size image sensor formats like Micro Four Thirds or full frame. Now, the high ISO shooting is also a weakness for this camera. CCD image sensor is not known for high ISO noise control. ISO 400 shooting in low light is already really bad, but I still can accept that the ISO 400 limit. Going to ISO 800 or beyond 1000, the images are somewhat borderline unusable. Now, it's not the noise that's a problem. I'm actually okay with the noise. It is more like loss of detail. As you increase the high ISO numbers, the details are lost, the images look somewhat mushy, they look soft, there's less definition in the image, they somewhat look flat, and it loses its pixel integrity, the pixels, the quality degrades as you push the high ISO numbers. Now, I would definitely recommend staying away from ISO 800 or 1006. Well, I know that some people say, well, it's emergency, right? But the images look really, really bad. Again, this is a small size image sensor, and it's a CCD sensor. It's an old image sensor, so I think it is forgivable for the camera, for what it is. Maybe perhaps during its time in 2012, back then, the dynamic range and high ISO performance, it was perhaps the best for what any compact camera can offer. But today, in 2022, now even a modern smartphone, any smartphone can have better dynamic range and high ISO performance shooting in low light or at night compared to this XZ-1. Another complaint that I must do is the lens cap. Because the lens extends when you power on the camera, it pops out. There's no control, right? So you have to remember to remove the cap before you power on the camera, or you have to somehow tie the lens cap to the camera and let it dangle around the camera as you take a photo. I don't think that's fun. I think it's flimsy. It cheapens the feel of the camera. It makes it less premium. There is an automatic lens cap available for purchase. I couldn't find the original one. Of course, I wouldn't spend money for that now, so I bought a third-party cheap automatic lens cap that automatically opens and closes with the lens. But unfortunately, that automatic lens cap arrived one day later after I've already been in Chiang Mai. I was already in Chiang Mai when the lens cap arrived. So I couldn't use that during my Chiang Mai trip. I have to let the lens cap dangle, and that's not fun. Other than that, I don't have any other complaints for this XZ-1. I think it is what it is. We shouldn't expect too much from a compact camera. There's a reason why compact camera wasn't doing that well. The sales went down. And we have micro four thirds today. If you want better performance, better shallow depth of field, better dynamic range, better high ISO, we also have full frame system, so use the camera that you need. But for a travel camera, for convenience, I think this is a really good option. If you're shooting in very good light, it still delivers fantastic results. That's all I have to share about this $40, 11 years old dinosaur Olympus XZ-1 compact camera. Have you owned one before? Please leave in the comments below your thoughts on this camera, your experience using it. I would love to hear from you. Do you agree with my analysis? Now, if you've enjoyed this particular video, if you love looking at my photographs, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal. Links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution will help me to continue making content and publish them right here. Please also give me a thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see you again in the next one. Until then, remember to go out and take more photographs. Bye-bye.